Mihir died some 6 months later. There was much drama, and I remember some lady in Ghatkopar got a heart attack and died when Mihir died. Ekta, me, and Sid Basu, we definitely congratulate each other on the 3rd of July. You know, that's been a sort of a marker because I think it changed a lot of lives. It definitely changed Balaji's life. It changed Star's life for sure. It was a big revival of Mr. Bachchan. So Kyoki built up quietly. See, we never did any hoardings for Kyunki. We never did any marketing for Kyoki because everything was focused on KBC. And we acted so fast that I don't think our competition got the time to react. Like Z did immediately they did something called Sawal 10 Crore Ka, which was like a misfire. I think 6 months later, Sony came along with Chappad Pharke, which was a misfire. Meanwhile, we had built up our soap empire. KBC is the one that blew out because KBC straight away went to the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. So the next week when the ratings came, we were 1, 2, 3, 4. Even in '99, we had commissioned many shows and tried to do some proper Hindi programming. But many of the producers, used to ditch us at the altar. They say it takes a village to make a film. It takes like an entire industry to create what was created. Right. Because, even for us to succeed, you need competition to fail. So, even they played a role in all of this.
If someone was to write the history of Indian television, then the year 2000 would definitely be written in golden letters. And I have with me Mr. Sameer Nair, who's probably one of the men who's responsible for that. Sameer, what do you remember of your time on Star Plus back in 2000 and of course creating iconic shows like Kaun, Banega, Crorepati and Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi?
Well, actually 25 years, it's a silver jubilee now in 2025. And honestly, when I think back to that time, and it will be written in golden letters, and it was a golden period. But I'm just the lucky one who gets to talk about it. But there were so many people in Star. All my colleagues in Star in India, Peter Mukherjee, Sumo, Monica, Deepak, Shailaja, Tarun, there were so many of them. There was a Hong Kong gang, Steve Askew, James Murdoch had arrived to take over Star in Asia, Rupert of course. So there were lots of people and all our production partners, the people whom we then eventually worked with. So then later went on to become household names. So Ekta Kapoor, Shobha Kapoor, Jitendra, so that was one. Siddharth Basu, Rosa, the whole synergy team. So there were there were so many people in the creative, marketing, distribution teams, everyone. And it was a really exciting time for us because Star, all through the 90s, had been a distant third. We were in a partnership with Z. We were a half Hindi, half English channel. All through the 90s, we remained in that state. And then finally, I think in 99 end, the split happened. Yeah. So we split from Z and then we were therefore able to now move on our own. And things happened very quickly from there. So like in, I think 99, October or November, the split happened. By January, we had embarked on the new plan. I had approached Mr. Bachchan. I had told Sid that this is what we'll do. We had started working on KBL, which became KBC. Yes. So it was all exciting times. And then around April of that same 2000, Ekta Kapoor came to meet me. Ekta and Jeetuji had come to meet me. And so then she pitched a show, which I said, yeah, okay, cool, let's do this. So that went on to become Kyunki. And we were really in the throes of everything. And then on July 3rd, 2000, KBC and Kyoki both went on air on the same day. KBC at 9 and Kyunki at 10:30. And and now 25 years later, we are still not sort of talking about that. I've always regarded that sort of day and that period like a BC AD moment for Indian television. There was before KBC and Kyoki and after KBC and Kyoki.
That's a great comparison. But also tell me, any plans of celebration? Did you know that it's 25 years? Who reminded you? Tell me more about that.
Well, actually, one good thing that we've been doing ever since is that at least between Ekta, me and Sid Basu, we definitely congratulate each other on the 3rd of July. That's been a sort of a marker because I think it changed a lot of lives. It definitely changed Balaji's life. It changed Star's life for sure. It was a big revival of Mr. Bachchan. Absolutely. It took synergy into the top bracket and it made Star the #1 network, which it remains to this day. Yes. So I think, we all remember that day and we always remember that anniversary. So this one didn't require any major reminding. Yes. It's been in the news, we've been talking about it, so it's good. And KBC amazingly is still going on. Yes. So that just shows, I remember when I met Amitji for the first time, this thing came up in conversation that Amitabh means everlasting light. And he is literally doing that, like, I mean, all on his own. And Sony, the team of Sony has really taken KBC forward. So like we did, I think, 3 seasons, but Sony has really built and nurtured and maintained that brand.
True. We'll get more on the details, but tell me, what do you remember of the time 25 years back in 2000, 3rd July, when these both shows went on air? Like, what was the feel like? What was happening in Star? What was the team doing?
Well, on the night of 3rd July, the entire programming team was in Film City. So everyone who was involved with the making of the show, the production and programming team, so we were all in Film City. I think the rest of Star senior management was in a colleague's house in Powai, watching it. Mr. Bachchan didn't come for that screening in Film City because he wanted to be, like, I mean, it was also a big deal for him, I suppose. And so there's a photograph I have of that period of us sitting and watching in that KBC set. And the show went on air. And honestly, I didn't get any phone call. So there was generically just pin drop silence. So my sense at that time, which I told people, was I said, I suppose, not getting a call, let's work on the principle that we left them speechless, right? So not silent as in, oh my God, what nonsense, but silent as in, oh my God, what happened? Wow. But then from there on, then from the next day, and then in the night, Kyunki came on quite silently. It was a quiet thing. It just came on at 10:30 that night. And it slowly built its own audience as it went along. KBC is the one that blew out because KBC straight away went to the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. So the next week when the ratings came, we were 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 episodes of KBC were 1. We had gone from 1 rating to 10 rating. So all of that happened. So KBC's impact was what you call immediate and overpowering. So it was that. I mean, it lived up to everything that we hoped it would. The marketing team had done a great job. Peter Mukherjee at that time had said that he wanted the opening to be similar to an India-Pakistan final. Oh. And that's what we sort of, I think, everyone in the team and content, marketing, everyone delivered that. So KBC, of course, went straight away, all those things, no bach gaye kya, and then all the roads were empty and everyone could hear the sound. And it really built out. I mean, it did everything, Amitji was introduced to a brand new audience. The quiz format was fantastic. The show was very well produced. Siddharth Basu and his team did a fantastic job in producing a really slick show. Amitji is bilingual, Hindi, English, and that style and dignity and all of that. The money was a lot. I mean, 1 crore, like 2,000. It was quite. So I think, and then the knowledge of it all. This is also pre-internet, pre-Google in that sense. So when you have 4 options, you can't Google it. True. So you have to really think about it and then feel intelligent. So I think all of that really worked in its favor, and it did I think it succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. While we were going for some success, I don't think anyone imagined that all of this would turn out in that manner.
Right. It was supposed to be Lakpati, which became Crorepati. If you could tell us what happened there.
Well, it was being planned as Lakpati. That's how we originally were planning and sort of developing it. And then Rupert Murdoch had come to India for a review meeting in February 2000. Okay. And so when we were presenting to him and saying this is the idea and the plan, so he of course knew of Millionaire. It was already a famous show. So he said, oh, that's good, all that is fine. And what's the prize money? So we said, oh, it's $1 lakh. So he said, how much is $1 lakh? So he said, it's like I think $2,000 or $3,000 or something. So he thumps on the table and says, oh, that's pathetic. What's the next number? So we said, well, that's 1 crore. He said, how much is that? We said, that's $200,000. So he said, that's better. So it just went from lakh to crore just like that.
Amazing.
And then it sort of went from there.
Yeah. But also tell me, what were the kind of discussions that were happening behind closed doors when you were, of course, working on these projects? What was the feedback from your team? How did they react to these ideas? Whether anything somebody just told you that let's not do it?
Well, actually KBC, which was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I had got a tape of that almost a year before that from my colleague in Hong Kong, Steve Askew. And he had told me that there's this show in US and now UK and now US, which has become a big hit, and take a look. And I saw it and I said that, hey, listen, this is a great show, but we are this half Hindi, half English, and we are stuck and this will be expensive to produce, so it's not for us. So the minute the split happened, I went to my drawer and opened the drawer and removed that tape and watched it again. And I said oh, here it is, let's do this. So then he went and got the rights and we got cracking on this. So I think at that time we had spent so much time in being a distant, sad third that anything that we do was going to be better than what we had done, right? We had a few hit shows. Obviously, we had Tutu Meme and Saas and Kora Kagas.
Right.
So we had done that, but then they were also stuck in our crazy. We had Star News. It used to be news at 9.
Absolutely.
So I mean, while Star Plus had a lot to going for it, it was hamstrung by the half Hindi, half English. So it never became a channel.
Right.
So like the most important thing we did when we bought KBC on is we took Star News off.
Absolutely.
And Star News was the flagship for Star for so many years, and we just took it off and said that no more news. So I mean, I think there was that energy that now we are on our own. We are finally, this thing. And James Murdoch arrived in I think he arrived into Asia by June. So he came just before KBC went on air. And it was quite spectacular. Yeah, I mean, it turned out quite well for everyone.
Right. And what about Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bhavti? Because that was also the first time that audiences were getting inside somebody's home, the daily soap criteria
So
that we saw.
Kyunki, actually, we had greened it in April. And we told Ekta that, okay, let's make this show. I thought it was a really good idea and let's go ahead and make it. And then she went away. We were really busy with KBC actually. Right. So we were all caught up in this and that. And I remember sometime around mid or early June, I remember asking the team, I said, hey, listen, what happened to that Balaji show? Because that also has to launch, right? So then somebody followed up and this and that, and then the tapes arrived. So when we saw the first 4 episodes of Kyunki, I saw it first on a Sunday with a colleague, and then the team saw it, and the sense was that, so what are we going to do? So the typical vibe is that, okay, now that we've got it, let's give some channel notes. Absolutely. Nowadays they are called platform notes. So at that time, then I thought about it and I said that, okay, I'll tell you what, let's not do that. Let's not give notes. Let's not actually give any comment to this, because this is being done with a certain purity of passion and purpose. This is a certain type of storytelling, and maybe we shouldn't meddle with it. Maybe, right? Now in hindsight, of course, it turned out to be a great decision to take. But at the time, everyone was like, really? You don't want to say anything about it? I said, let's not. Because, some of us are from Film Institute, somebody is from Jadavpur University, there's enough people from Jamia. We are all a very intellectual bunch. Yeah. Maybe we should not bring our intellectual thought to this. And let it be, storytelling from the heart. Yeah. So actually, Kyoki went on air without any comment. No change, no nothing. It was as it is. Yeah. And in fact, it almost set the template then for Ekta, that no one ever gives Ekta feedback, which is a good thing. It turned out well for her. So Kyoki built up quietly. See, we never did any hoardings for Kyoki. We never did any marketing for Kyoki, because everything was focused on KBC. But I had told Jeetu once when we were talking that, I'm going to be, because we had not told about KBC to anyone. So it was like a big state secret. Like almost till June, nobody knew it was happening, till suddenly it became a thing. So I told him at that time that, listen, we are doing this show that is going to be a really big show. So what this show is going to do is that it's going to bring millions of people to Star Plus, right? And they're going to come to just gawk at what it is. I said, but after that, what I want really you to do and what Balaji to do is that I'm going to get all the guests in. Yeah. You'll have to feed them. So it worked out actually exactly like that, because everyone came to see KBC and then they stayed on. And when they stayed on, they got to see Kahani, and Kahani came 3 months later. Yes. So then it became all the Ks, right? So Kyunki, Kahani, Kasauti, Kahin Kisi Roz. There was a whole range then of them.
Absolutely. But now that when you look back, what were the risks involved with both these shows and the challenges that you faced to kind of get it?
Honestly, with Kyunki, it was not so much of a risk. We had been struggling before that with getting proper, good heartland Hindi programming, right, because no producer wanted to work with us. Yeah. Actually, even in '99, we had commissioned many shows and tried to do some proper Hindi programming. But many of the producers, used to ditch us at the altar. It's happened to us 2-3 times where we are all set to launch the show, and then like Peter calls me and says, what the hell is going on? I can see a hoarding here. This is the show that is supposed to be on Star, it's now on Z. Right. And the producers used to literally tell us that, honestly, you got a very sad channel, aapke channel pe aayenge, rating bhi nahi aayega, bahut hi, and it was quite a struggle. Yeah. So when I met Ekta at that time was more famous for her famous comedy, Hum Panch. And she wanted to do drama. So it was actually just taking a chance on that she wants to do drama, which she had done in Tamil, to be fair. So she had already done a daily soap. So it was not so much of a chance as much as it was really a meet. She was young, I was young, we were, and the big bad world of Indian television at the time wasn't really giving us a chance. Absolutely. So it worked out quite well. Yeah. And then Kyunki sort of genuinely it grew, like as audiences came, it grew, day on day, week on week, fresh cast, all new people, all of that. And I think the more important thing is what happened immediately after. So the minute KBC became a hit and the minute Kyunki started picking up steam, we doubled down on it very quickly. I think the team at Star, all my colleagues, everyone, we reacted very well to our success. We doubled down on it. We immediately bought Kahani. We immediately did this. We did many things.
Right.
And we acted so fast that I don't think our competition got the time to react. Like Z did immediately they did something called Sawal 10 Crore Ka, which was like a misfire. I think 6 months later, Sony came along with Chappad Bharke, which was a misfire. Meanwhile, we had built up our soap empire.
Absolutely.
So by the time KBC started winding down by the end of 2001, season 1, our soaps were already in place. We were set. So I mean, in that sense, I think we, after the fact, I mean, obviously when we first did it, if KBC had flopped, then needless to say, Kyunki would have also struggled because it wouldn't have got the audiences. Or it might have built up on its own, it would have been a fight, whatever. But it would have not been the same. But the minute it became successful, I think we responded very well.
Absolutely. But when the team, did they ever feel that this will go on to become such iconic shows and be relevant 25 years later?
I don't think. Anyone who says that we always knew it is being presumptuous. Usually what happens is that you put your best foot forward. As you say, in our business, no one sets out to make a flop. Everyone sets out to make a hit. And sometimes, a lot of things come together. So a lot of, I think everyone's intentions were right. The amount of hard work we put into was right. Like even a description of KBC was that everything on KBC was made of gold. That's why we needed Mr. Bachchan as a diamond to be set in it. Right? Because everything was done. We produced everything to the highest possible scale. We didn't leave, we didn't cut corners. Even Kyunki and Kahani later very rapidly moved up budgets. Like it was no longer the cheaply produced daily soap. It was the expensively produced daily soap. At one time we used to say that we are producing weeklies daily. Because that was the scale that it was being made. Ekta Kapoor put in her life and soul into it, I mean all of those, because I think also our relationship became that, like I don't want to meddle with what you're doing, but on the other hand, don't let me down. So with that kind of an equation, it was a real trust between platform and creator, that you got to do your job, you got to get the ratings, you got to do. Within a year, she was on the India Today cover as the queen of soap. So, it really sort of worked out. So I think everyone came together. It was a young energy. We were younger, she was younger, everyone was this thing. And Amit ji was having a grand revival, so he was younger.
Yes. And Siddharth Basu had once told me that how you actually suggested Amitabh Bachchan's...
He was one and only person on my list. Wow. So when we first decided to do it, then I said we should get Amit ji to do it, and then I stayed sort of a little obstinate and stubborn about the matter. And it took some time because we spoke to him from Jan, Feb, March, April, May. I think by April it got locked finally.
But what were his kind of initial apprehensions, and then of course his own journey of coming into his own as a host of KBC?
I think, his initial apprehension, and rightfully so, is that Amitabh Bachchan, India's greatest superstar, and going to become a game show host on TV. So there was always that one little debate, right? And most of his inner circle and all always advised against it. But I think eventually it was his decision to take. I mean, I did all the convincing, but finally it was his decision to take.
Absolutely.
And I think when we went to London and we saw Millionaire being produced there, because we took him there to show it to him and then to shoot some promos there. When he saw that, on our way back, he told me, he said that if you do it right, then this is going to be it. So I think that's when he decided, okay, let's do it. Everything is connected to him, because the way the show was built, the way the show is, and it continues therefore to this day, is that he is the centerpiece. And he is the fulcrum on which everything operates. And so while the show format was great and the production quality was great, the money that was being gained was great, the idea is so great, that knowledge, all of that stuff. The thing is that he holds it together, right? And so I think he started off a bit tentatively because it was also a first for him. That, because TV is different from film. Absolutely. And it's also a lot more, it's real in that sense, because film is completely acting. This is, you are actually meeting a regular participant who is either gushing over you or getting nervous, and you got to conduct the proceedings, right? So it's a little bit of, it's not exactly scripted. But I think once it came on and once it was a success, then he really came onto his own. I mean, then so much of it, all the opening speeches of his, all the pauses, all that drama, all of that excitement, all of those little things, that's all like,
Though he missed the first episode screening, but what was his first call to you after?
Come to see it. We didn't even speak. We let the first 4 days go. I mean, he must have. I think the first 4 days was really everyone waiting to see what everyone is saying. And then we had to wait till the next week for the ratings. So while everyone was saying, "Arey, what a show," but we really didn't know. Then finally, when the ratings came the following Thursday or Wednesday, we were 10, 10, 10, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 5th show was on Z. So then we said like, whoa, high five, and and then it went on. It peaked at 24.
Yes.
So it really went zooming. We had our first in Crorepati, Harshvardhan Navate. So he happened. So it was great fun.
Right. But 315 episodes for one season. I mean, tell me about that entire journey of stretching over that one season and just cashing on to the success.
See, it was successful. I think we had originally signed up, 130 episodes.
Okay.
And then we went and then while it was going on, we then extended and renewed a contract with Mr. Bachchan. So made it 390 episodes and then shot continuously all the way till the end of 2001.
Wow.
So we did it for totally 18 months. Then at the end of 2001, it had sort of simmered down. So we took a break. And then we came back, I think in 2004 with KBC 2, right? We took a year's break and then came back with KBC 2. Then Amiji fell sick.
Yes.
So then because he fell sick, we had to truncate it. Then he didn't want to do it. So then it was one of those things. So then we did a season with Shah Rukh. Then after that, I left Star, Peter left Star, so we all left Star. Star gave KBC a miss, so to say. And then I think in 2010 or 11, Sony took it up and decided to do it, which was a good thing.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Bachchan came back, and then it's been history since.
Absolutely. But you also want to talk about getting Shah Rukh on board and he not receiving the kind of love that maybe Mr. Bachchan got.
I think he got the love. It's not so much about that. He was actually the most dignified of it all, because when I went to meet him, the first question he asked me was, "Kyun Amit ji nahi karenge?" So I said, he's thinking ki abhi ho gaya, he don't want to do it. So he said, okay, then cool, I'll do it. So I mean, his first question was that why isn't Amiji doing it? Because he should do it. So he did it, and I think at that time he was also doing Dawn.
Yes.
So I mean, there was that little moment in time. So it was an interesting thing to do. I think he brought his own charm, his own magic to it and all of that. And who knows, things may have turned out differently. The only thing is that because I left Star, and so there was also a change. So then we finished with that season of KBC, and then I had left, Peter had left, then there was a change, then Uday came, then new things were happening, Star was going through its own turmoil. So it was just one of those things, But they Star did one more season of another show called Pachvi Paas with Shah Rukh.
Also, let's talk about Smriti Rani. You already mentioned that Ekta was doing the show independently, but I mean, getting Smriti, it just changed the face of Indian television. How was that?
It was always, Ekta has always, from the start, she's been very big on casting new faces and finding new talent and really developing this kind of thing. So I mean, in that sense, even Hum Panch was totally fresh for its time. Vidya Balan comes from Hum Panch, So I mean, in that sense, it was anyway designed to be a fresh cast. It was supposed to be, a bunch of actors. And she found Smriti and Apna Amar Upadhyay were quite the fresh couple at the time.
Right.
So and it worked like a charm. Smriti had done some work before that, but this really brought her into every home. But Mihir, I mean, when Mihir died some 6 months later, there was much drama, and I remember some lady in Ghatkopar got a heart attack and died when Mihir died.
But was it also difficult to get people to participate in KBC, because now everyone wants to be on the hot seat?
No, at that time it in fact we had to set up the whole telephony system.
Yeah.
We had to set up this, that whatever that phone uthao, number gumao situation. There used to be a lot of complaints about people not being able to get onto the show. Finally, when the show came on air and they saw that, and also see what KBC did is it had a very, deep psychological insight. When you see the 4 questions on air, you're sitting in your family setting and AB says A, B, C or D, you say C. right? And we are all sitting and watching you. Now drama, and finally AB says, "Aur sahi jawab hai C." So when he says C, it is of great validation to you. Sitting in the house, you say, I know the answer. Now, if you answer a 25 lakh question, you think you won 25 lakhs, right? So now you're thinking your family is telling you, ki, you should go on this show. I mean, I've had so many uncles and aunts calling me saying, ki, we answered your 50 lakh question, get us on the show. I said, phone uthao, number go, you have to come by the process. We can't do that. Yes. So I think everyone wanted to be on it. Everyone used to, the phone lines were always clogged and used to get complaints about that. Then with Kyunki, Kahani, Kasoti, I mean, all those characters really took hold, Yeah. We've done so much promotion, so much activity. Absolutely. And I think Ekta also really built up on that, at one point we were doing 6 shows. Yes. There were some 6 soaps on air, all of Ekta's. So that was like a lot to be doing. And that goes to show her creative, sort of versatility and vibrancy. She was 25 at the time. When I met her for the first time, she was just going to turn 25.
Wow. Wow. But a lot of people also feel that those shows were a little ahead of their time because they also spoke about so many sensitive societal issues. There was widow remarriage when, of course, Mihir died. I mean, what was the conversation happening with Star and Ekta about kind of looking into these progressive thoughts?
Actually, a lot of these things were how stories evolved. I think it was also, it was the turn of the millennium. This was the new millennium that had started 2000, 2001, 2. That was the sort of thing. There was this whole thing about, everything's looking up, liberalization, economic progress, all of that is also happening at the same time. So it was also a great energy. In many ways, it was like on the one hand, Karan was doing Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, and on the other hand, Ekta was doing Kyunki Saas Kabhi. They're actually similar, right? They're similar. It's all about loving the family, right? So both were doing the same thing. One had all the big stars and one was on TV every night. So I think that sort of energy of, being traditional, but being modern, being sort of, in a way, very, very Indian or Hindu or whatever you wish, but also being progressive, of questioning. Ekta is quite the rebel. Yes. So a lot of this is also her own personal manifestations. Absolutely. So I'm sure in a script discussion, if it comes up, that so what should the widow do? Her default position would be, how dare you say, kind of thing. So I think a lot of this evolved. Yeah. Our teams in Star at that time, there was Tarun, there was Deepak, there was Shailaja. Then Shailaja worked very closely with Ekta for a long time. So all of these are very progressive people. Absolutely. They are all sorts of thinking people. Then a lot of the press used to be always on our case, right? About regressive programming and what is this and all of that. But then I have to always tell them that, if you want to be progressive, you have to set up a regressive conflict. Yeah. Then you have to resolve that conflict. Absolutely. So if you don't set up regression, you can't progress. It's just a way of storytelling. Yeah.
And you spoke about these shows being so high budgeted. Would you like to put in a number? And do you think a show like that can be made in today's time?
It can be made. Actually, in a funny sort of way. I think Indian television in the 2010s went backwards because we had sort of peaked towards the end of the 2000s, and these shows being produced at like 20, 30 lakhs per episode. Right. By the end of 2020s, these similar types of daily soap operas are being produced at 6 and 7 and 8. Yeah. So in a weird way, you normally expect inflation. This has been deflation, and that may also be a reason why TV has sort of declined. Because a lot of the content on TV that is being produced was always produced at high quality. In the 2000s and 2010s, in many ways, television of India has always been international standard. Absolutely. We may be doing daily soaps. Now we've started doing streaming and all of this stuff, so we are doing premium drama. But what was being produced very well. KBC was international standard. Absolutely. Big Boss was international standard. Idol was international standard. There was nothing being produced cheaply. Nach Baliye was international standard. Laughter Challenge was. So, there was money being spent. The whole market was growing.
Absolutely. And on that last note, 25 years for, of course, KBC and Kyoki. What is that one core memory that you still hold true and maybe it will remain so with you forever?
Well, there are actually quite a few. In the sense that things that I remember most is just before it all happened. So the lead up to KBC, the discussions with, AB and Sid Basu, for example, the meeting with Jitu and Shobhaji, Jitu and Ekta for the first time. Yeah. And so actually the meeting was fixed by Jitu ji. And so he arrived, and then Ekta came with him. And I said that, Arey, why did you bring your dad? You know me. She said, no, but anyway. So those kind of things, that so watching those Kyunki episodes on that Sunday morning and then saying, let's not give feedback. So it's everything, a lot of the more brighter memories are before it all happened. Then once it all happened, then it became about, now you're riding the tiger.
Right.
So, and I think we rode it quite well.